Well, hello everybody. What is the rumpus? As you can see, I am outdoors doing a little keiko, and I wanted to just leave a message. I'm still alive, and I've just been focusing on, my own personal life and my school and training and teaching, and within Koryū here in Japan. Things are going well. I'm doing all right. I did have some health setbacks and such for the last couple of years, but yeah, I'm still here. And got a helicopter flying up there. Give me a second. All right, I think the helicopter's kind of gone. So I hope you're all doing well and you're all happy, healthy, and peaceful. Everybody, detractors included. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people approach martial arts and Japanese classical arts with a somewhat narrow mindset. And I'm guilty of that in the past, though not as narrow as other people. Certainly, I think the general idea of practicing iaido or kenjutsu, like, the arts I'm involved in, more or less those arts, like sword arts. Again, this applies to martial arts in general, but the misconception often is Koryū is better than like Gendai Budo or recent or new things or things that have undergone a lot of changes. There's Koryū that have also undergone a lot of changes in recent decades or recent years. And the idea is, well, you know, these old things are unchanged, and they're done this certain way, and you have to understand the history and see the history. But when you look at the history and you see everything, you see that, well, they have changed and they have evolved. And there's this idea that you are studying real combat or actual combat in Koryū, Kenjutsu, or Iaijutsu, or these classical arts, these kobujutsu in Japan, that you're studying the classical combat systems. And generally, that's not really what we're studying, and that's not why you should be studying these arts. And this is my opinion. I'm sure some of you might disagree, but the arts, for the 300 years that the Edo period was around, the Tokugawa period was around before Japan became modernized, that between the last big war and, when Japan got modernized, those 300 years, it was, the training was not specifically for all-out warfare and battle, and you weren't always, you weren't always dueling, and there's a lot of myths and incomplete, incomplete data as far as I'm concerned. Because, we have written documents and written accounts, but those can only be trusted so much and understood so much. So you cannot say 100% this is what happened, this is what didn't happen. It's hard to say. It's very, very hard to point at in any history, when you're talking about any history, even when you have photographic evidence. And I mean, look, even the 80s and the 70s, the nostalgia from the 80s and the 70s that has been the rage recently, that's also what you see is an interpretation, not how it really was. And we never are going to understand how it really was unless you lived through it, unless you And then even then, when you look back and you live through it, no matter how much video evidence and photographic evidence and written evidence there is, it's very hard to 100% understand what was going on. So, but we do know that the arts were for the, what's the word I'm looking for? The benefit of the practitioner, for the advancement of their place in society and in their village, town, city, wherever they were living. It wasn't for them to be hardened, cold-blooded killers or purveyors of truth and justice. That's not what these arts are for, and that's not why the arts were continued through the periods where the arts were kind of suppressed, and literally after World War II, the period when there was a moratorium on practicing these kind of arts, and it was verboten to do this. It was forbidden to do this kind of stuff. There's the idea that you're learning a piece of the past and you're trying to continue that, you're trying to preserve that history going forward. That's great. But what you should be preserving is not just the technique, I'm gonna cut this way, I'm gonna cut that way, is not exactly that's the small part of the bigger machine that you should be preserving. One of the things I believe that we should be preserving is the betterment of society, bettering ourselves. I know it's hard, and it's difficult. People don't want to admit things. People don't want to say sorry. People don't want to admit that this was bad behavior, that was bad behavior, this is a wrong way, and this is a better way. There is a right way. There is a way to be doing things. A way to be doing things, in my opinion, that's kind of correct. There's a path, and in the path there's the middle of the path, and once you start going over to one side or the other or off the path, problems develop, things happen. And I practice kenjutsu and iaido not to win, not to be better than somebody else, not to be the best swordsman in the world. Like some people want to claim they want to be the best swordsman, or they want to have the best school, or they want to have the most students, or they want to study with the most teachers. None of those things equal actual success in the sense of improving ourselves, making ourselves better. And when I make videos like this, the views are very small. But if I show techniques, those videos go up like tens and tens of thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of views. But then these kind of videos where I'm explaining about becoming a better person and studying iaido and iaijutsu and kenjutsu to learn about ourselves and be better people. That's the biggest challenge, learning how to do, one-handed yokomen or whatever. That's easy. That's easy. Physically, anybody can just keep repeating that and they'll get it. It's easy to do. But it's the bigger challenge. The bigger challenge is not the waza, not the techniques. It's ourselves. It's learning about ourselves and trying to be a better person. And like I always tell myself and my students, and what I always try to do, I think I'm pretty successful at it, is just admitting you did something wrong and that you're not, or that the other party is not 100% at fault and you're 100% blameless. We're never 100% blameless. I think that's a very important step in learning these martial arts. Again, they're here, in my opinion, and from my study, they're here to better ourselves and understand ourselves better. And it's not about playing samurai. It's not about playing ninja. It's not about upholding traditions. Like, those are not the primary reasons. It's not about swinging a sword. It's not about that. It's about developing ourselves and learning about ourselves. And when I think when you divorce yourself from certain pursuits, like, learning all the waza, or being the best, or doing the waza perfectly, or representing your school, immaculately, like when you, or, you get into the crazy notions of, Japanese martial arts are the best. And I had a discussion with a Koryū teacher not long ago. Sorry, some fruit falling off the tree here. I had a teacher, I had a talk with a teacher not too long ago about that this mentality that Koryū is good. I don't know, some people really get in really deep, and this school is more legitimate than this school, and it can get really crazy. And yeah, and he said there's nothing special about Koryū, and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm always saying myself, me and my other friend and my wife having a conversation about that. And I mean, it's not that it's not special, but it is not the jewel of the Nile, or it's not the pinnacle of anything. It's a small blip in a huge history of martial arts and warfare that developed into something else. And then also, speaking about that, we should not discount that, yes, these arts derive from actual warfare, but you don't want to go off the road or the deep end and jump into the ocean that is, well, because they derive from combat, that it is combat. It's not. It's much different. It's much different. A breakfast pastry is different than a Pop-Tart. I don't know. It's a bad analogy, but this is what popped into my head. So you have to be able to dismantle and look at how the watch works and the components of the watch, and not just kind of go running and saying, these hardline ideas. Everyone should enjoy the martial arts they want to practice, and everyone who practices martial arts, I believe, should be bettering themselves. And if your teacher is not leading by example, trying to be a better person, if your teacher is not talking about these subjects and is only focusing on competition or technique and stuff like that, and that's the only focus the teacher has, you should reflect about what you're learning and what you really want to learn, and I think as we study, if we're not deepening the layers of introspection and investigation, then we're doing it wrong. Then all we're doing is dancing around and becoming technical experts or technically minded people in how to swing a sword, how to do. And again, the reason people, I think, gravitate to that is that it's just easy. I mean, it's not easy, but it's easier than saying, hey, you know what? I offended you. I'm sorry. Hey, you know what? You're right. I probably shouldn't be saying those things. Hey, you're right. I was a little rough on you during practice, etc. And just admitting it, and just downshifting and taking a look at ourselves. And why am I like that? Why am I a bully? Why do I feel the need to, shut down conversations in this way? Why am I reacting this way? We need to figure that out. I mean, otherwise, we're going to always be lost. And I think that iaido and just martial arts, like I keep talking about swordsmanship, because that's what I study. But we should be finding ourselves through that. We shouldn't be getting lost. We should be finding ourselves. And we should see a gradual increase in the quality of our mental health and our our thinking, Our view should widen and not narrow, and that's a problem, and I think it's important to address. So, I teach here in Japan. If you're interested in learning, well, I think all of you know I have a school. Yeah, you can check the link in the description below. I'm sure it's there. If you made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. I know these videos aren't for everybody. A lot of people don't want to, follow a more holistic or just a more holistic way of martial arts. I think all of us initially, myself included, were initially attracted to the martial arts because they look cool. And it's interesting. I didn't know what was interesting to me, but I like working with a partner and feeling the dynamic, as opposed to just solo, opposed to just solo iaido. I like to feel something going on. Yeah, so that's it. Hopefully my microphone is working. No idea. And, let's hope I don't wait another 2 years or whatever it's been to make a post again, or a year. I forget how long it's been. It's been a while. And again, I hope you're all well. I hope you're doing great. Hope everybody is doing wonderful. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Thanks for watching.